had an election, which in my understanding now, it has been an allotment of whoever the state wants to go through and the one they don't want to go through. In particular, I'll speak about Butambala as a constituency. From the word go, it was, I think, red flagged. And in particular, me being, I think, the deputy president of NUP, I think I was earmarked for a violent, rigged process. It started well at the beginning of the campaign, when gangs were being organized to stop my rallies. Because of the popular support you have in the area, it proved very, very difficult. And they abandoned it. But on the polling day, in that area, in the last 3 months, 4, they've changed RDCs 3 times. They've changed the diesel, I think, also 2 times. They've changed, even the DPC was removed on the eve of voting, and another one was placed. You can imagine it was removed, I think, on either 10th or 12th, before 13th of the voting. We got a new DPC. The sub-county election supervisors were literally all removed and new ones appointed. Presiding officers at polling stations, some were removed on the eve of voting and others placed in, carefully screened. But irrespective of all that maneuver, then gangs were organized to stop NOP and us to have access to polling stations, including having gangs that would stop my agents accessing polling stations. And some polling stations were unreachable. Not a single car of my campaigners were spared and mine along the way. Literally all of them are without windows, are shattered. The thing is, all the people who are doing all that kind of violence were being supported, escorted, and assisted by both the military and the police and other non-closed security forces. But irrespective of all that, by close of voting, the indications were I had still defeated them. And by midnight, by the time we got to all the DRA forms, we are well ahead of whoever we stood with. And we are ready now to go to the Electoral Commission to have our victory. But that was at around 3, as we were about to prepare at my home. 3 in the night, we had a stampede outside. And immediately the whole home was under attack by a combination of military, vigilantes, and I think police. And that is 3 in the dead of the night. So they attacked my home. And because it was also a polling center both for presidential elections and for parliamentary elections, it had also agents that were returning the DRA forms and other people. But also because the people had known you had won, quite some had turned up to be home. Then the military attacked. So many people ran inside the home because I was in another room I think the garage was open. So many people ran inside the room, and they were like, you couldn't find space. And they closed the door of the garage, and the main door was closed, so the room was not accessed. So they began to hit the main door, broke all the glasses, but it was burglar proofed with high quality padlocks. So they had difficulty in breaking in there. So later on they descended on the garage door. Still they found people had locked it. And eyewitnesses that were inside the cars parked home tell me 2 soldiers took a stand, like a firing range, not using ordinary guns, but these ones with kasepichi, okay, and begin to fire at the garage door to force it open. But remember, a lot of people just stampeded in there. So whatever bullet they fired at the garage was hitting the person. So people inside began to feel like they were all over blood, and so they opened. So when they opened, all they witnessed was dead bodies were falling over. That's when I think, because I was hearing, I was just in a room slightly opposite, slightly where and they had broken the window also, I could hear. That's when I think the commander said, you must stop this nonsense. How many people are you going to murder in this place? And that's when they stopped. And I think now they realized they had killed so many innocent civilians. Most of the dead were all women, and not ordinary young girls, women known in the area, mothers. So, because most of them had acted as my agents, I think they had reported and they were home. And they are not 7. I want to disprove the president who says that people were shot at a polling station. Was there a polling station in the garage at my home? Let him show me one person who attacked a polling station and was shot from there. People were shot in my home. So the president is grossly misinformed of the actual facts. It was outright tyranny, murder, and killing of innocent people. No, no. I don't know whether it says the police. It says a police station.
Yeah.
Now, there is no police station in my home. If the president is misinformed, to now be informed that they attacked a police station. In my village, there is no police station. Okay? This happened in the Bugoye village, okay, Gombe parish, and Butambala County, okay, Gombe Town Council. The police station is in the town, 2 kilometers away from my home. Now, these people were shot inside the garage at my home. So the president is totally misinformed, totally out of for him to say that gangs attacked a police station. There were no police station that was attacked. It is the military that descended to people in my home, and these killings happened in a garage in my home. So there is no way you could say, and we are going to put him to shame, because in that place I have cameras. Not only cameras, there were people who recorded videos. That's why after killing all the people who are there, they did another firing and ensured that they retrieved every dead person and packed trucks and took them to Gombe Hospital. Even in Gombe Hospital, they feared that the community would gather there in the morning. By 5, 6, they transferred all the people to Mulago. By yesterday, I had participated in the burial of 6 of those that were killed. All of them from the community there. Most of them, of the 6 we buried, 5 were women. So would you expect women, mothers, married women, to be the one participating in that kind of what he describes of an attack at a polling station? So this was outright terrorism by state agencies, and they were led by the deputy RDC. He was at the scene. The deputy RDC was at the scene of crime. To my amazement, yesterday was Saturday. Yeah. Something that happened on Thursday. Okay? It was yesterday when the investigating, I think, agency arrived to call out some kind of investigation. And I saw them measuring the distance from my home to the road that goes to the district. That's what they were trying to measure. And afterwards, then when we complained, that's when they came down home and saw the bullets and saw everything. And even when I think if I'd known, we have people picked these those things from the compound. So the president, for him to sit in State House, a fountain of honor, to really speak to a park of light is very, very unfortunate. The thing is, they murdered innocent people, they killed them inside the house, and this evidence, I can encourage any of you, at least we have replaced the windows that were shattered because I have an old 90 mother that stays in the house. Okay, I wouldn't live in a house without glass, but I've not yet replaced the door of the garage. You can go there. The bullet shots where they passed are still there. Actually, the mattresses, because I had some mattresses at home that I was giving in the constituencies, so some of them are there, full of blood. You even see, because blood takes long, even if you come and grab. And what they did was to carry all of them. We have footage of soldiers carrying dead bodies. We also have a footage of 2 soldiers that were shot at the site. Therefore, for him to allege a terrorist act on me and on any of the people who are victims of state violence is extremely unfortunate and unbecoming of a head of state. Is he misinformed? Now, if he's misinformed to that level, then I wish for the country that the president no longer gets a right briefing. Because as a president, you are the #1 consumer of intelligence, verified. Now, if he sits out there and he was addressing bishops, I've seen a number of clergy. I don't know the gathering, but I've seen a number of bishops. So before men of God, in a straight face, the president is lying. The thing is, government must account for all dead people that were killed in that election. It is them that killed people. And an attempt to turn it round and put it on us, an attack on my home, not even, is very, very unfortunate. So the president, for him to say the attack, is there a polling station in Ibugoy at my home? There was no attack at all. This was all inspired a kind of a cover-up, one, to try and rig an election, which, for me, that is a minor thing. Rigging election, if it's not equal to lives lost. Me being a member of parliament is not at all equal to one single person being killed. The last 2 days have been very emotional. You find husbands that have come and identified the clothes their wives left with and say, therefore my wife is dead. I've seen a heap of people come and check in the shoes, and they look at the shoes that are left and says, my dad is dead. Children have visited these families. It's difficult. I know they plan an arrest on me in a doubt because they had wanted it yesterday. But it's okay. Even that is okay. As long as even the deputy RDC who commandeered and some vigilantes that we know who led the attack on my home and killed people. Because we did not, if it says people attacked police with the pangas, let's just retrieve the dead. Or there is a postmortem report in Mulago. Let's say that the postmortem report shows people are killed by pangas, all of them by gunshots. So this was an operation that was done to kill and murder innocent people inside a one's home. And that home is my home. It's very fortunate. You cannot even think about the outcome of an election when you are thinking about, yesterday I was like, you see young children, because these are not very old people. Their children are like 7, 10. You see them dead, it's very sad.
So, Honorable, what's the exact number of people who were killed in that?
I think we did a count. Our first count was 10. That's why there is a report that in the crossfire, they even shot soldiers, 2. Okay? Because this man who was firing with that cassette picture, I'm not a military person, was firing for whoever. And by that time, some security operators were already trying to force doors to open. So they shot 2. And they should account for even 2 servicemen that they shot. I have a recording of dead bodies being lifted from home. And I think those of you are on the social media, you have already seen a video. Some media houses that came early that day found a pool of blood, they found, they've seen the garage, they've been there. So let the security walk us to the scene of crime, where these people were killed. And if it is near a police station, I would simply put a ping on myself and walk myself to prison. I will not even allow a court process.
So what's the next step? We have
7 on facts that have not yet mastered very well. You would see how sad that situation has been. I've been too busy but I've spoken to friends that have reported various days from across the country. This was not an election. It was something else. Gangs of people commanded by the security forces. I saw Nandara Mafali, a presidential candidate, thoroughly beaten. And sometimes it's so funny, even their allies were not spared. So I saw people in Masaka crying. So my view is that it's the whole sad. So for the president now to simply come and mention out Butambala, well, it is horrible for 10 people to die in one home. You can imagine the trauma of an old woman, how he's feeling. when 10 people died. Even some of us who saw it happen in real terms. One of my wife was telling me this was like a film, okay, from Hollywood. The scene was like from Hollywood. It was terrible. So we condemn it in totality. But now for the president to be callous and package it before religious leaders and tell a pack of lies is extremely unfortunate.
Those people, they were your supporters, and what
message can you have? It's beyond what I'm also trying to compose myself and have a proper message to them. But during the burial, you can only comfort them. Good enough, I come from a deeply Muslim constituency. You only say inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. But that's not enough. I think justice must be done. I'm yet to sit. I'm consulting with other people to see how we can ensure that this doesn't go out like this. And because if we allow this happen and get away with it, those who will continue to participate, not me, in electoral processes at that various level of members of parliament, some young people would still want to fight for a country and have an iota of belief that elections mean a democratic principle. That confidence is disappearing by day. I've spoken to Hildaman, I've spoken to Fred Nyaz, I've spoken to you can imagine what happened to Mofumbiro. I've spoken to quite a number of people, Kayemba Solo and whatever. If we allow this trend to continue, then the president who has been talking about Libya, is that when people completely lose hope in the electoral process, they seek other means of a struggle. And it would be unfortunate if that remains the only option. Because if you close all these options, people will say, okay, these ones. Dr. Kizza Besigye has been a proponent of saying electoral processes mean nothing in Uganda. Some of us, and I've been a principal person saying, we need to give democracy a chance. We need to keep going. It's not because the outcome of the election are not in my favor. That's not the issue. But just look around and see the mess that the country has gone in. If you happen to see what my president has gone through, would you want to throw yourself back in that election? What will you tell a country? So he can celebrate a victory, but let him know Bashir celebrated one. Okay? And he had one. Here in Sudan, Bashir celebrated one. He had one with a bigger percentage. These manufactured percentages. Hussein Mubarak had just won by 90-something%. So was Tunisia. For Gaddafi was the honest one, no election in his country. Okay? No pretense of these democratic tendencies. For him it was like everything, one party, no election, no nothing. But he is actually preparing for Libya. He is actually preparing for Libya by removing any belief that democracy has a room to deliver Uganda where it is. You see, he thinks even if you build roads, even if you build airports, even if you do all those other things and you suffocate people, those things become redundant. I don't think he will do any better than Gaddafi did in terms of infrastructure development in the country. But what happened to Libya? I don't think he threatens to do better than what Hussein Mubarak was doing in Egypt in terms of building infrastructure, Cairo and other areas. Even Sudan was doing far much better under Bashir in terms of infrastructure development. So it's not an opportunity cost that for a sake democracy, we give you a borehole, we give you access to power grid, we give you these other things. Unfortunately, he thinks that's what it is. The Soviet Union or Yugoslavia under Tito or Indonesia or Malaysia that saw those kind of elections. That was always emphasized. Don't you see the development? We will oppress you, we will kill you, we will take out your rights and give you access to basic infrastructure. And those basic infrastructure, I usually tell people, they are fundamental rights. You have a right to basic education, health care, access to IT, access to electricity grid. They are no longer obligations of the state. They are a right to have. The election in Butambala, there was no election. It was outright thuggery of the highest order. The very election that the president in 1980 found unacceptable and decided to pick up arms and go and fight. So after 40 years of governance, for him to preside over a country where elections are like, even the 8 elections look like they are far much better that you opposed, is highly regrettable. And the way forward, as I've said, is that when you close all options, especially for some of us who had thought that there was a space to make a contribution to a country, to a better governance, to a more governed country through non-violent processes, okay, using what small window that the Constitution provides. If that completely gets eroded away, then the only option left will be taken by those who have the capacity to take it. And that will not be a negotiation on microphones. So it remains now the only option, and society has never failed to remove a dictator. That's the other bottom line. Okay? What has happened that in human history, no dictatorship ever builds a capacity that surpasses the need of the people to live in a free and a democratic order. So for him to boast of unmatched potential and capacity, he's reading akapanda akasoma bubi, and I think he's not a good student of history. And it talks about a land of martyrs. The martyrs are born every day. Okay? If he talks about a land of martyrs, the martyrs are born every day. So him alone is not the only one that knows about martyrdom. No, they will be born about every day. Are we going to provide leadership for that kind of a struggle? It's a conversation we are going to have. I bet you me. It's a conversation some of us will have in some space, and we'll see what to do.